Good evening, everybody, once again, and then welcome to today's tutorial on a function called printf. Okay, so welcome. So tonight we are basically dealing on printf. Okay, as regards to the project that was given to us, a paired project that was given to us. All right, so basically we ought to be doing this with our partner, but then I feel doing this all together will be of help. So when even if you are doing it with your partner, you will have a deep understanding. Okay, because basically many of us don't really understand these things. So if we don't understand them, there will be no way we can even go further to talk to our partners. So if I end up grounding us on the basic knowledge as regard to this particular project, which is printf, you will not even have issue dealing with your partner to start with. Okay, so the main thing is to have a ground knowledge about this particular stuff that was given to us first. Then you can go ahead and do anything you want to do. I hope everybody can hear me, right? So if you can hear me, please use the emoji like a thumb up. So that's when I will know you are hearing me. So use the emoji like a thumb up emoji. All right. So if you can hear me, just use it. And if you cannot, you can use the top down. Okay, so if you can hear me, please do that so that I will know the state I am. Okay, so now let's go. Talking about printf, talking about printf. Okay, now basically we are still on C programming, right? Now we have a project called printf. Okay, so what is printf? Because we must first of all understand the meaning of printf before we can even proceed, okay, to deal with that particular project. All right. So first of all, we must know what printf means. So from there, we can start picking out the point, okay, as regards to that particular project. All right. Now, first of all, what is printf? This is a question that many of us cannot answer. Okay. So, and it is important we know this meaning first, because within this definition, I'm going to be bringing out strange things. I'm going to be telling us so many stuffs. Okay. In fact, our class tonight is going to basically based on this definition of printf. Okay, so I'm going to be telling us so many things about the definition, so that we can know more and we can go deep about this particular stuff called printf. All right, now what is printf? Like I said, so in C programming, like I said, we are still on C programming. In C programming, printf is a standard library function that is used to display formatted output on the console or terminal. I come again. In C programming, printf is a standard library function used to display formatted output on the console terminal. Can you hear me? Someone is using the thumb down. I don't know. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, please let me know. Let me know. Use the thumb up. If you cannot hear me, use the thumb down, please. Okay. Maria, you cannot hear me. So I think some other person can hear me. So just find a solution. You can leave the meeting and then come back and check again. Okay. So let's go. Now, like I said, in C programming, printf is a standard library function used to display formatted. Now, underline, please make sure you are writing. No, if you are not writing yet, please make sure you find a pen and a book and write. It is very, very important. You will need it. Okay, you will need it because not every time you understand through videos. Sometimes it is based on what you like, what you wrote down. That's what will bring like bring you to understanding of whatever you are looking for. So don't always rely on videos. Videos alone can't do everything. So make sure you are writing something down. All right. So make sure you are writing something down. All right. So I go again. So printf in C programming, printf is a standard library function used in displaying formatted output on the console or terminal. Okay. Now we are going to be talking about a standard library. We're going to be talking about printf as a function. We're going to be talking about the formatted output. And then we are going to be talking about the terminal. Okay, so these are the points we are going to be picking out on tonight on this particular project. Okay, now they say the printf is what is a standard library. Now, first of all, we need to understand what a standard library is. All right, we need to understand what a standard library is first before we can even proceed as regard to this particular definition, because we are told that printf is a standard library function, so we must know what a standard library is before we can proceed. Okay, now let's start with the term standard library as used in the definition. Now, a standard library, okay, sorry, so a standard library, okay, in C programming is a collection of pre-written functions and tools that comes built in, okay, with the programming language. Now I repeat, a standard library in C programming is a collection of pre-written functions and tools. Don't get confused. Trust me, I'm going to be breaking all this thing down, okay? So don't get confused. Just follow. Okay. For every term I'm using, I'm going to be throwing more light on them. So you don't have to to get confused, okay? Now, like I said, now standard library, okay, in C programming is a collection of pre-written function, that is an already written function and tools that comes built in, okay, with the programming language. That comes built in with the programming language. Okay, sorry about that. So, like I was saying, I said standard library, okay, in C programming is a collection of pre-written function, that is an already written function, and tools, okay, that come with built-in with the programming language. All right. So, now, okay. So, what I mean is this: that a standard library itself, first of all, is a C programming language. Okay, like is a standard library, because we are talking about C programming language in general. Okay, so standard library in C programming is a collection of pre-written functions and tools. Okay, so you should understand the pre-written function and then you should understand the tools, because we are going to be talking about it. Remember where we are coming from. We are coming from the definition of printf. So when we are trying to define the printf, we stumble on a term called standard library. So we are trying to establish the facts, okay, as regards to that particular term, which is standard library. And so we went forward and we say that the standard library is a collection of pre-written functions, that is an already written function and tools. Okay. Now, why do I feel that so many of us still don't understand? Okay, now let me break it down further. Let me just break it down further. So let's take a look at the definition again. Okay, so I said in C programming, printf is a standard library function. Okay, so by implication, it means printf is a function, because I said printf is a standard library function. So printf itself is what? Is a function. Just in case you don't know, just note that now. So it's a function, that it printf is what now? Is a function, right? Now, because according to the definition, we were told that the printf is a function that is inside a particular stuff, which is what called the standard library. Now, I went further by saying, let me say it in essence, okay? which I said that it is used to display what now? Formatted. There is a standard library function, and then I went for saying it is used to do what now? To display formatted output on the console or terminal. All right. So we'll talk about what I mean by formatted output later. But then let's first of all understand the term standard library before we can now move to uh what is it called? The formatted output. We are still on definition of printf. Take note of that. Okay, we are still on definition of printf. All right. So first of all, we define printf as a standard library function, okay, that is used to display formatted output on the console terminal. Now we went further by trying to establish a fact, okay, on the term standard library, and then we said that in C programming, a standard library is a collection of pre-written what? Pre-written functions and then tools, okay, and we said so we are going to be talking about this pre-written later. So maybe towards the ending of the meeting, we are going to be talking about the pre-written and then the pre-written functions and then pre-written tools, okay, as appeared when we are trying to define this standard library. All right. Like I said, so we'll talk about what I mean by formatter, but let me first establish the essence of this standard library. Okay, then we'll go further. All right. Now, when defining this, I think please so off your mic. Okay, so when defining the standard library, I made mention of the pre-written function, right? And then pre-written tools. Okay, so talking about the pre-written function. Now, a pre-written function or functions are functions that perform a specific task or operations. Okay, and printf happen to be one of those pre-written functions. Okay, now if I may ask, where can you find all those pre-written functions? They can be found inside where? Inside a library. But this time around, we are dealing with a standard library because printf happens to be a standard library function. Okay, so we are talking about that standard library because what we are dealing with, which is the printf, happens to be a function inside a standard library. All right. So it's supposed to be inside a standard library, okay? And its goal is to what now? Is to display text on the screen. So instead of writing those code, okay, instead of writing so many bulky code to display a text each time you need it, you can just simply use the printf function and then pass this text you want to display as an argument. Are we following? So talking about arguments, talking about assignment, and these are things we talked about during our. Remember, we put the class on function hold at this moment because of time. Okay, I've not find a comfortable time whereby I will teach the function. We've already talked about the compiling models and introduction to C programming. Okay, so but then we say we want to. Okay, we talk about programs as well, and then we said before we even talk about function, let's first of all deal with every other thing that we build up the function. So we talk about others, then leave function out of it at the moment because the reason why I've not taken the function is I don't have the time yet, and function is not what you rush to teach because it's very broad, and then it needs you need to pass a well-grounded understanding before people can understand it. All right, so that is why I put it on hold first. Maybe next week we will start our function class. All right, all right. So like I was saying, okay, so we're still on pre-written function. Okay, I said pre-written functions, all right, are functions that perform a specific task or operations, and printf happen to be one of those pre-written. There are different pre-written functions, but printf happens to be one of those pre-written functions in a standard library. Okay, that is, in a standard library there is an existence of a function called printf, and its goal is to do what now? Is to display text on the screen. Okay, so that instead of writing the code to display a text each time you need it, okay, you can simply use printf function and then pass this text you want to display as an argument. So this argument stuff we are going to be talking, I'm going to breaking it down, okay, like when we are talking about functions. All right. So I'm going to be talking about the essence of argument and assignment because they are related. They are related. Okay. You can use them interchangeably. All right. So, and how they can be used. Okay. So the reason why I don't want to, because of function, is what like I said earlier, I don't want to rush it. So that's why I don't want to teach it yet. All right. So let's talk about the prerating tools. We've talked about the prerating function. We just define prerating functions. Okay. As what now? As a, who is sending a message? Okay, so we don't define a prerating function, okay, as functions that perform a specific task. Okay, so the goals of this operating function is to carry out a specific task and operations. All right, and then we said that this printf happens to be what now? One of those operating function in a standard library. So that's that. Now we've talked about the operating function. Let's talk about the prerating tools, because when we are defining the standard library, we talked about prerating function and then we talk about prerating tools. Now, the reason why I'm saying all this is that I'm trying to break all these things down so that at the end, we are going to create our own customized definition. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is so that we will understand, okay? So that at the end, you will be the one to, bring out your own definition, okay, so that just in case anybody asks you out there, you will not struggle to tell them, because you actually tell them what you know and not what you've heard somewhere, okay, because what you've heard might be untrue, might not be 100% accurate, but what you know and can prove can will always be 100% accurate. Okay, so the reason why I'm doing this is to just break it down so that at the end we'll have our own customized definition of all these printf and the standard library. All right, so by so doing, we now have a ground knowledge about these things. Okay, now so talking about, we just talk about the prerating function. Now let's talk about prerating tools, because when we are defining the standard library, we say the standard library is, in C programming, is a collection of what now? Prerating function one and then tools. Okay, and this tool happens to be a built-in, okay, like they comes built in using what now? With the programming language. Okay, sorry, someone sent a message. Let me read that. Can you share the slide you are using? I am not using a slide. First of all, I'm not using a slide. Okay. I wrote something down, so that's what I'm using. I'm using a book, my book. So it's not a slide. All right. I'm using a book. Okay. So let's continue. So, like I said. See, guy, this guy just okay. Let me just quickly. This how I do it. Okay. I first of all, before I take any class, I do my research. I compile materials together and I write something out. So that's what I normally use to teach. Okay. So that's what I normally use to teach. All right. And what I'm telling you now is what you cannot see anywhere, because it is not just, I didn't see them on videos, I didn't read them on books. Okay. I made the research and then add to my knowledge, compile everything together, and then put it in a book. So that's what I normally use to teach. That's why most of the things I teach, you won't be able to see them anywhere, because they are actually coming directly from me. Okay, so I'm not using a slide. If I'm to use a slide, okay, I will use them. Anyway, I'm not using it now. I was supposed to use a slide, but because of technical issue, so we're trying to run some things and it's not yet working out. So that's why I decided to just teach directly. But when everything start going well, we'll be using a slide and we'll be using a whiteboard. Okay, but for now, let's just work with what we have. Okay, so that because we need to run. Okay, so that's that for that. Now we've talked about the prerating functions. Okay, now talking about the prerating tools. Now prerating tools, because we're at least trying to establish the definition of a standard library. Okay, so after that, we are going to create our customized definition of standard library, and then we'll go back to printf. We are going to define it again. Okay, and then and then give our own definition as well. So this thing I'm telling you now is introduction to printf. So after everything, you should have a grand knowledge about printf. So when you see it anywhere, you shouldn't be scared, or it shouldn't take you off balance, because you've already understand the basic knowledge. The goal is to get the basic knowledge first before advancing. All right. So that's what I'm trying to do. Now let's talk about the pre-written tools. Now, pre-written tools, okay, can also be referred as a function, or let me say utilities, okay, that helps you to perform common operation more easily. All right. Remember talking about the pre-written function, it also helps us to carry out tasks and operations easily. All right. Now, talking about the pre-written tools, okay, they said it helps us also to do what now? To perform common operations or tasks, what now? More easily. Okay, so these things are already been designed and coded to handle a specific task efficiently. Okay, so these things have been tested by programmers. They have been optimized. Okay, they have been put in place, all right, to do what now? To help us perform our tasks more easily. That is to make our life easier when carrying out those tasks. Okay, all right. So for example, now there are tools in standard library for what now? For first of all, I'm going to give you an assignment. Okay, so there are tools in standard library. All right. Uh, how will I put it? 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 Okay. Now these tools can be used for mathematical calculations. Okay, they can be used for memory management. All right. They can be used for string manipulations. Okay, or do I need to explain all these things as well? No. So I won't bother explaining these things. Now, this how it's going to be. Okay, this how it's going to be. Now, I made mention of three things. First of all, I said these tools, external library, okay, can be used for what now? Mathematical calculations. They can be used for memory management, and they can be used for string manipulation, etc. There are other things they can be used for, but I made mention of these three important ones. The first one is mathematical calculation. The second one is memory management, and the third one is what? String manipulation. All right. Now, I'm not going to be breaking these three things down. So I'm going to be giving us an assignment. Okay. I'm going to be giving us an assignment. All right. And it's going to be, now I'm going to be asking this maybe during our next meeting, or I can just create a random meeting and then I will call on us to explain. Okay. And the meeting might be on GC. All right. So now this is what I want you to do. I want you to go after the meeting, then you can go on and explain. You can write it out on a book. You can always come to my DM. Okay. When it's like as regard to this, you can always come. All right. So now the assignment is this. Now explain uh the meaning of these tools, or the essence of these tools, and or how these tools are being used in standard library. So number one is for what like mathematical calculation. Number two is memory management, and number three is what? String manipulations. So you have to explain, okay, how these things are being used. Or let me say, okay, give examples of these terms. First of all, is what now? Mathematical calculations, memory management, and then string manipulations. So you give example of them and then explain. Okay, so make sure you do these three things as an assignment, because I don't want to go further. Okay, so that because we have a lot to cover, and I don't want to spend more than an hour. Yeah. So just take this home, just do your research based on this. When you are done, all right, you can come to my DM and then submit. Just show me what you've done. Okay. And then I'll check it. All right. I will always ask you questions. So I'll ask you questions based on what you've researched. All right. So just go back. It's for our own good. Okay. So the more you research, the more you know deep about these things. So make sure you make research about these three terms as regard to what now? Pre-written tools. All right. So that is the assignment. So I'll definitely ask. If I don't ask now, I'm going to be asking us during our next meeting. Okay. Now, there is something great about this thing called pre-written function, and then creating tools, standard library. So there is something unique about these two uh, technologies, these two uh, utilities, okay, that is reside where now in standard library. All right. Now, the great, the most, how will I put it? So, the nice thing about this thing, okay, is that they have been well tested. Like I was saying before, they have been well optimized and then follow all the standard conversions. Okay, so there's no how they will definitely work as expected in your program. Okay, so that's why when you are facing some issues while running your program, you shouldn't be in a hurry to blame how will I put it? To blame the code or to blame the terms you are using because they have 0.01%. Okay, how will I put it? They are 99.9% correct. Okay, so the chances of them being wrong is 0.01. So you shouldn't be in a hurry to, how will I put it, to blame them. Sometimes there might be issue maybe based on server traffic or something. Okay, so there might be issue, but then you shouldn't be in a hurry, all right, to blame this thing. I've already taught us how you can carry out your tasks as a box. Okay, so before you can even say this thing is not working well, maybe whether it's malfunctioning or something, you must first of all make sure that what you are doing is correct. You might have checked it over and over again and then confirm that it's correct first, before you can now go further and say, okay, maybe there's an issue with the server or something. Because these things we are using are what now? They have been well tested by different programmers and developers. Okay, so during our past classes, I gave us the difference between a programmer and then a developer. Okay, so if you have not, you can go back to our video and then watch again. So these things have been well tested by different programmers and developers. They have been optimized as well. Okay, and then these things follow standard conversion. They have been satisfied. Okay, no, before they can certify something, that means that thing has meet every how will I put it? So it has meet every policy, every terms, every condition that needed to be that needs to be met at that particular point. Okay, so these things have been tested and then they have been optimized and they have followed the standard convention. Okay, so they will definitely work as expected in your program. Okay, so just in case you want to have a ground knowledge of when a program, I mean, yes, if you want to have a ground knowledge of what a program means, like I said, I've already treated this on our past class, so you can go back and watch all those tutorial on our YouTube here. Okay, just go to the live session, and then you are going to see everything there. All right, now that you have understand the meaning of operating functions and then tools, so let's quickly go back to our definition of standard library, right? So that we will link all these things we've said earlier to the definition of standard library, and then we are going to create our own definition. I'll be creating my own definition right here, right now, and you too should be creating your own definition right here, right now, as regard to what now? As regard to standard library. So after this, we're going to be going to what now? The printf definition, and then we are going to break it down and then link as well and create our own definition. Okay, so by so doing, we'll have a better knowledge about this stuff. All right. So now that we have understand what we mean by this function and then this operating function and then tools. Okay, so let's quickly go back to our standard library definition. Okay, because that's where we are coming from. All right. Now let's go. Let's go. Now, talking about the definition of the standard library, I said the standard library is a collection of operating functions. One, and then operating tools. Two, that is what now? That is already written, okay? That is already written functions and then tools. So operating functions are already written functions. Operating tools are already written what now? Tools. Now, all these things are resident where inside a library called the what now? Standard library. Okay, during our compilation class, when we are talking about preprocessor, we said between the preprocessor and then the compiler, there's a file being generated, and that file is called an intermediate file. But then we said no, that file is an intermediate file, okay, because it's a file being generated between two what now components. But then the name of the file is not an intermediate file. It is called a what now? A pre-processing file. Okay, so we talked about all these things, and then we said what the preprocessor does is that it takes your source code, okay, and then he takes some pre-processor directives and then bring everything together and then turn all these things to what we call what now the preprocessor file, and then give it out to the compiler. Okay, so the compiler is going to create another intermediate file and then convert it to what? To an assembly file. Okay, so on and so forth. So when it converts to assembly file, then it's going to create between the compiler and then the assembler. They're going to be an existence of what now? Of another intermediate file, and that intermediate file is also called an object file. So like that, it's going to be till they get to what now? The linker. Okay, so till they get to the what now? The linker. All right. So when talking about this pre-written function as regard to standard library and then pre-written tools, okay, and then we say they are already written functions, okay, and already written what now? Tools. That's why they are called pre-written. They are built in. Okay, so that's why we are calling them pre-written functions and then what now? Pre-written tools in what now? In C programming. So I can say that a standard library is what now? It's like now, this is my own definition. So after breaking down the definition of standard library, now I want to create mine. So at this point, I expect you to be, you know what, generating your own definition as well, okay, of a standard library. Now, this is my own definition. Okay, so I can say the standard library is like a housing. Now follow me, like it's as a housing that contain pre-written functions and then pre-written tools, so which can be used by programmers to perform various tasks and operations without having to write these codes from scratch. Now I repeat, what I'm is just a summary of what we've been talking about since in what now? In standard library. So this is my definition, like I said. So standard library is like a housing, like a building, a room. Okay. Now inside that room, there is a pre-written function and then there's a pre-written tools. Okay. Now the essence of this is to be used by what now? Programmers. Okay, programmers to do what now? To carry out tasks to solve what now? Problems without having to write bulky code, without having to write all those code for doing those particular stuff from scratch. For example, if I want to display something on the screen, I will have to write so like different code before I can, get the result I'm looking for. But because of the existence of a standard library, now I will not need to go extra mile trying to write all those code from scratch. All right. So during our compilation class, I talk about the substitution of text when we are talking about macros. So macros is a preprocessor directives. Okay, so we have the definition directives. We have the macro as well. Okay, so macro happens to be a pre-processor directive. So when talking about macro, I made mention of, like, I made a statement by saying you can take it as a word, as how will I put it? Like what you use to substitute text. Okay, now the standard library and then the pre-written tools and functions. Okay, these things are being used by programmers, all right, as a substitution for those bulky code they ought to write to carry out a task or to perform a particular function. So instead of them writing all those code from scratch, all they need to do is to introduce these pre-written functions and then pre-written tools. And those things, those tools, and then the function are resident where? Inside a library called a standard library. So this is what gave birth to my own definition, which I said is like a housing that contains creating functions and then creating tools, okay, which can be used by programmers to perform various tasks and operations without having to write this code from scratch. So this is my own definition. Maybe if you see me writing a book, or maybe if in the future you see me writing a book, so this is the definition I'm going to be using, okay, in my book. So if you want to write you a book, so you must as well do what now? Have your own definition. So the reason why I'm taking my time to remember, we are still in definition of Printf, but look at where we are now, okay, trying to establish every bit of fact as regard to this definition. So the reason why I'm doing all this is for us to have a ground knowledge as regard to this thing first, because that is the most important thing. If we miss it here is the foundation. So if we miss it here, it's going to be affecting us, whatever we want to do. Okay, so it's not by rushing. I don't like rushing. So it's not by rushing to do tasks like this. So it's by understanding what you are doing first, then you can go further to do whatever you want to do. So this is my own definition. I will be expecting you to have your own definition. So if you have figured out your own definition, maybe you can just come to my DM and then just write it out, and I'm going to check it. Okay, if there should be there's a need for any correction, I'm going to correct it. Okay, so after everything, it's going to be your own definition. All right, so that in case anybody asks you out there, what you are going to tell them is your own definition, and not a definition that was given by anybody, or not a definition that was stated on any video, not a definition that was stated by ChatGPT or any form of AI. It's a definition that was generated by yourself. So you should be proud of it. So that is the essence of me trying to do all these things. Okay, so that is the essence. So in summary, a standard library is an essential aspect of what of C programming language. Remember, we are dealing with C programming language because it make programming much easier, okay, and efficient. So it's an essential aspect of this particular language we've been learning for about a month now, which is called the C programming language. So C programming language is a procedural language. I talked about this during our introduction to C programming. Okay, so you can go back to the video and then watch. Okay, so it's an essential aspect of a C programming language because it makes programming much easier and efficient. It didn't just make it easier, but it make it more efficient. Okay, so one thing is to write a code easily. Now, another thing is for that program you've written to be efficient. That's how many of you are still angry with yourself because you are doing copy and paste. So you are doing copy and paste, and then at the end you are doing your how will I put it? You are carrying out your tasks easily, but then the efficiency, like the knowledge which is needed for you to which is needed for you to perform those tasks are missing. Okay, so one thing is for you to copy those code. Now, another thing is for you to know what you are copying. All right. So, what standard library does is that it makes programming more easier. Right, like substituting. So it makes programming more easier, and then what now? At the same time, sorry, can someone hear me? Thank you for Jesus. Where did I stop? Please. I was muted. Please, where did I stop? Where like did you hear me? So that I can stop. I don't know. Yes, I was muted. Please, where did I stop? Just someone should mute or mute yourself and then say something, please. Let me know where I stop so that I can continue from there. I don't know. I was not aware.
Capacity or similar capacity, you know, either completely or partially, which is very important. I wish I watched. I wish I saw the video. I can't because I can't because I knew I stopped, but I'll just continue.
I'm listening, please. Where did I stop? I
You were
can't
talking
hear you.
about how efficient. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, you're talking about how standard library plays vital role in programming and how it's easier how it makes coding easier and efficiently. That's
Okay,
where
okay. So that is where like that's the last place you people heard me, right? So if that is the place, please everyone should just bring a thumb up. Let me confirm that. Okay, let me confirm that, please, because I was muted by mistake, so that I want to know where we actually stopped. Okay, so now let's go. Let me take it from there again. Okay, so like I was saying, I said in summary, right? A standard library is an essential aspect, okay, of C programming language. Remember, we are still dealing with C programming language. Now, the reason why this thing is essential, okay, is because it makes programming itself what now much easier and efficient. Now, when we are talking about C programming during our introductory class to C programming, I try my best to give to talk about the C aspect of C programming and then how the programming language comes in. So, talking about the programming language, I talked about almost everything about the programming language. Okay, and I gave us where the C programming language comes from, which is what now a like I said, C programming language is what now is a procedural programming language. Okay, so I break down all these things during the teaching back then. Okay, so you can have access to this tutorial on our YouTube channel. So go to the live session, okay, and grab it and watch it. All right, so you are going to understand all these things. That's why I take my time to break down these things so that whenever you see it elsewhere, you will not struggle to understand them. All right, now I said that standard library is an essential aspect of C programming language, right? Because it makes programming much easier and then efficient. Okay, so one thing is for your programming is for your program to be easier. Another thing is for that particular program to be efficient. Okay, so like I repeat, one thing is for your program to be easier to write, and another thing is for it to be what now efficient. All right. Now, reason why most of us are still complaining, are still angry at ourselves because we are just doing copy and paste and we don't know it is because one thing is to do copy and paste and then carry out your task easily. Now, another thing is for you to have a grand knowledge of how to carry out those tasks yourself. That's where the easier aspect and then the efficiency aspect comes in. Okay, so that you are copying and paste and then carry out your tasks doesn't mean you know what you are doing. So one thing is for you to copy and paste. Now another thing is for you to know what you are doing. So relating this to standard library in C programming, okay, so it makes programming itself what now much easier and then efficient because you are likely to, oh my god, so because you are likely to make mistake when you are writing a bulk of codes. Okay, so yes, there will be a video. This thing is safe. That's why we are going on YouTube live. Okay, so you are going to watch this thing later. All right, you have access to them on the YouTube. Okay, please mute yourself. Oh, someone is not muted here. Okay. Okay, so one thing is for your programming, is for your program to be easier. And another thing is for that particular program to be what now? To be efficient. Okay. So that your program is easy to write doesn't mean it's efficient. Are you following? So That's that. Okay. So it helps you to save time and effort. Now I'm talking about the essential aspects of C programming. The first one is that it makes programming, it makes the program you are writing to be what now? To be much easier and efficient. Now talking about programs, I think the class before this one we are having now, I talked about program. Okay, when we are talking about C function, so we talk about program, everything about program. So if you want to know more about program, so just go back and then watch those videos. You will understand. All right. So what the reason why the standard library is essential, okay, in C programming language is because it makes the program you are running to do what now? To be much easier and then what now? Efficient. And then it helps you also to save time and effort so that you will not need to do what now? Write complex code, bulky code, complicated code for common tasks. All right. So instead, you can easily do what now? Call on the appropriate function or tools, like call on the appropriate operating functions, for example, printf, or operating tools, for example, all those mathematical calculations, and so on and so forth. Okay, from the standard library itself, and use them in solving unique problems, specifically to what now? To that particular program you are writing. All right. Now, let me repeat again. I said standard library is an essential aspect of C programming language. Now, I started to give reason, okay, why I said is an essential aspect in C programming. So, my number one reason is that it makes your program much easier and efficient. Okay. And I said one thing is for your programming to be, your program, the program you are writing to be what now? To be efficient. And another thing is for that particular program to be what now? To be easier. All right. So that your code is easy to write doesn't mean that code is efficient. For it to be efficient, that means it has been tested, it has been optimized, it is following the standard convention rules and all that. Okay. So it means so by so doing, it means all this, and before you can test your code, before you can optimize your program, before you can make your program to follow the conventional standard convention, you must the program must be what now? Must be efficient. Okay, so one thing is for your program to be easier to write, another thing is for that particular program to be efficient. And what standard library does is that it makes your program to be what now? To be easier, and then to be what now? Efficient. That is number one. Now, number two, it helps you to save time and effort. Why? Because so that you will not need to do what now? Write complex code. You don't need to write complicated code. You don't need to full your get your terminal filled up with bulk of codes, okay, for just common tasks. Instead, you can easily call on the appropriate pre-written function inside the standard library, or the appropriate pre-written tools inside the standard library, and use them in solving problems, in solving unique problems, in solving particular tasks, okay, specifically to that particular program you are writing, so that you will not have to make mistake. Because maybe during the course of writing so many stuff, you can end up including some particular functions that is not needed in that particular program. So by so doing, all you now started seeing errors. So trying to debug will now make everything more complicated, and those things are waste of time. Are you following? So what standard library does is that it eradicates these things, okay? And then it's going to make your life easier. It's going to make your code efficient. It's going to save you time and effort. All right. So instead of writing all these complex codes, instead of writing all this bulky code, instead of writing all this complicated code that will at end lead to you spending several hours debugging, okay, so all you need to do is to introduce the appropriate function, like a pre-written function, for example, printf, or pre-written tools, okay, and then use them to solve a particular problem specifically to that particular program you are writing. Like I said, I'm talking about program. So in case you are confused, just go back to those videos. I took my time to explain everything. Okay, so this is how I teach. I don't teach and leave some stone untouched. Okay, so if I'm reading something and I notice this place might bring confusion, I will stop there, make sure I break everything down, okay, before going forward. Remember, we are still on the definition of printf. Now look at where we are now. Okay, we are still in definition of printf, but here we are now talking about standard library. So after everything, I will now go back to that particular definition, and they will now it will now become an eyes opener, because it's like you took a meat and then you butcher a meat. So when you butcher the meat, what will happen? You have to see everything, the entirety of that particular meat. Okay, so that's what we are trying to do. So when we take on a definition, we must butcher the definition. We must cut the definition into pieces and then check every bit of that definition. Okay, and at the end, we will now have our own customized definition. Okay, so when you are defining house there and the people ask you question based on definition, you should boldly tell them everything, because you understand everything about that particular stuff. So this is the reason why basic knowledge is very, very important. So you should not expect me going to solve tasks where I've not teach you what now, the basic aspect of a particular stuff first. All right. Now I gave you go ahead to be solving your tasks because, like I said, because I want to teach the team. If I don't want to teach it, I will tell you to go and read up. Make sure you understand before solving tasks. So me giving you go ahead to solve your tasks, okay, why you don't even have any knowledge about it is because I will teach them. Okay, and I've started already. God help me. Okay, so like I always told us, I don't have any knowledge about this C programming stuff. I'm just reading them, and then I'm teaching them. Okay, so that is it. All right, so that is it. That is it. That is it. So let's go further. Okay, so now that we've talked about the essence of standard library, I believe we all understand what a standard library mean now. Okay, so it's time to generate our customized what now definition of what, of a standard library. Are we following? So it's time to customize our definition of a standard, what is it called? Standard library. So that another person won't. Okay, so when we customize this thing, make sure you had your watermark, all right? Make sure you include everything. So, for example, now if you are writing a book, so make sure you include your watermark so that someone else will not steal it because you actually work for it. Okay, so at this point, you should be having your own customized what now? Customized definition of what? Of a standard library. All right, so you should be having your own definition, uh, like your own customized definition. Okay, so you should be having your own customized definition. All right, customized definition. Now, let me give us another definition as well. So you can just take this home. Okay, like I said, you can always come to my DMO to check your definition. Okay, so you can come and tell me this is my definition. Is it accurate enough? Okay, so we are going to check it and then we are going to look into it. And then if it's accurate enough, then you can go with it. So that out there, wherever anything is, uh, whatever you want to, tell them, okay, so you have what to say. Okay, so standard library, like I said, let me give us another definition. So standard library can be defined. Now, I'm stating all this based on everything we said earlier. Okay, so standard library can be defined or simply, or let me say, can be defined, or let me say, for example, yes, it can be. If they ask you to define something, this is how I do it. If they ask you to define something, you say that particular stuff can be defined. I need to tell you, okay, tell me the meaning of this thing. You say this thing simply means, okay, this is how I do it. I don't know whether it's correct or something. Okay, now standard library can be defined if they tell you to define a standard library. All right, standard library simply means if they tell you to tell them the meaning of standard library. So my definition is a standard library can be defined or simply means as or a toolbox in C programming language that house or contain operating functions, operating what now tools, which are being used by programmers to perform a particular task or in a solving a what now a particular problem. So this is my definition of what now, of a standard library. So you can do where to go and generate your own definition. Like I said, you can always bring them to my DM, okay, for clarification. All right, now we are done with standard library, right? Now let's quickly pay a visit to our initial definition of printf. Okay, please mute yourself, oh, mute yourself, mute yourself, mute yourself. Now let's go back to our initial definition of printf. Let's dwell there small so that we can just establish it. If fast, so that we can just generate our customized definition as well as regards to what now printf. Now let's go. Now our initial definition of, oh my god, please mute yourself, please, please, sparkling. I don't know. So just mute yourself. Okay, now let's go back. So our initial definition said that printf is a standard library. So this is where we started all the standard library talk and so on, because we spotted something called standard library in our definition of printf. Okay, so that's when we now started saying all this standard library stuff. All right. So we said printf is a standard library function. So we also said that, okay, oh, so printf is also a function. Now this function is resident inside a standard, a library called what now? Standard library. All right. Now repeat same sentence so many times so we get. Oh, um. Okay. So like I was saying, okay, yes, I do repeat stuff so that you understand. I don't want you to forget. So that's why I repeat all those things over and over and over and over and again. Okay. So I don't want you to miss out. I don't want you to miss out. So I'll keep on doing it, doing it, doing it, doing it till you stay. Okay. So that's how I do my stuff. Now, like I was saying, when we are trying to define the printf, we said printf is a standard library function used to display formatted output on where? On the terminal or console. So this is our initial definition, right? So during this definition, we spotted standard library, we spotted function, and then we spotted formatted output. Talking about standard library, that's what we'll be talking about so far. Okay. Now I also see that the printf is a function. Now this function, which is called printf, is resident inside a library called what? A standard library. And we've already explained what the standard library is. So no point in going back to that place. All right. So if you have written something down, you can go back to your definition and then check. All right. So basically, we've done with the definition starting from the printf to where now? To the standard library function. So we've already established that fact. Okay, we'll break down. Now we talk about now the uses. The uses of this particular function, which is what now? Printf, is that it is used to display formatted output on the terminal. I'm following. So like I was saying, this okay. The I didn't I forgot about this. The oops, please mute yourself. The meaning of printf, or how will I put it? Printf simply means print format. Okay, the f there means format. The print is print, then the f means format. Okay, don't be confused. Now, remember when we were dealing with Shebang, we were talking about the ash and then the, what they used to call that, is the exclamation mark. We said the ash is ash. Okay, then the exclamation mark is what? Bank. So bringing these two together, that's what make it what now? She bank. Can you? I believe everybody can remember that. Okay, so that is the essence of attending meetings. You just have all this knowledge. Okay, so I talk about those things then. Okay, trying to break down those things because I noticed that many of us are misusing it. We are calling shebang a script, and then we are calling the script a shebang or so. So I tried to break it down. So I said ash means ash. That is that Nara sign. Okay, it means ash. So it retained its name. Why the exclamation mark means bang. So try to merge these two together. That's what bring about shebang. Okay. So being bash is not shebang. What is shebang is ash and then the exclamation mark. Okay. So that's that. All right. That's I don't know whether we have that meeting here, but I don't know. So if you attended those meeting, then I believe you might have gained something. Okay. So that's that. Now let's relate this to print f. So print retain its name print, and then f there means what now? Format, or let me say formatted. Okay. So it means formatted. All right. So print is print, f is formatted. So when you see print f, if you want to confuse your colleague, just say print formatted. All right. So instead of print f, they will ask you what is print formatted and all those kind of stuff. All right. So it is an added knowledge. Okay. So instead of calling it printf, you can just go on and say print formatted. So print formatted something on the screen. So you are trying to tell them to display something on the screen. Okay. So these are terms issue, you know. All right. So that's that. I think I should be paid for that as well. Okay. So let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Okay. Like I said, so these things actually stand for print formatted, right? Okay. And it is a part of what now? Why are you giving me money? So it is part of the what now? Standard input and output library. Okay. I think during those classes, during when we are talking about compilation method, I think I talk about the yes, yes. So I talked about all this talk about all this stdio.h, the header files. Okay, I talk about okay when I was talking about hash includes, hash define, okay, talking about macro and then preprocessor directive in general. So I talk about all these header files. So you can go and watch, all right. So yeah, so that's that. 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 So let's go. 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 I want to be fast. I think we spent lots of time. So let's see how we can run. Now we were talking. So when we are defining the printf guy, okay, we talk about the standard library. Then we talk about the formatted outputs. So before we land or before we arrive on our customized definition of printf. So we need to know what is it called? A formatted output is. Okay, we need to know what formatted output is. Okay, so formatted output is a structure or format. Follow me. Formatted output is a structure or format used by what now? Printf when displaying information on the screen. I repeat, formatted output. Okay, before I continue, let me tell us where the formatted output is coming from because I believe many of us are lost already. Now, when go back to the definition of printf, we say printf is what now? It's a standard library function used to display what now? Formatted output on what now? On the terminal. So here is where we got the formatted output from. So trying to break down what the formatted output is, that is why I'm giving out this definition. Okay, so this is the definition, but then after everything, we are going to generate our own customized definition. All right. So formatted output, like I said, is first of all is a what now? Is a structure, all right, or format used by printf itself when displaying information on the screen. So this the print. Okay. Maybe when I read it, I will just talk about it. All right. So these are structure or format used by printf when displaying what now information on the screen. or we can actually say that the ability by which the printf function display information on the screen, okay, in a specific or organized way is referred to what now? Okay, I think I like this one. It's referred to as what? Formatted output. Okay, so the ability by which the printf function, remember printf is a function. Okay, so the ability by which this function called printf display information. Remember, it is used to do what now? To display information. So the ability for this function to display information on the screen, okay, in a specific and then organized way is referred to as what now? Formatted output. So it is important you give what you want to display a structure and then a format so that you will get exactly what you are looking for. So I okay now if I want to display an integer or if I want to display a plain text, okay, so I will need to give specifications. So there's a format specific. Okay, let me just continue so that I will not just cut everything down. Now, like I said, now I said the ability, okay, by which the printf function display information on the screen in a specific, like specific what you want, and then these things being organized, okay, is referred to what now formatted output. Okay, like I said, I prefer this definition. I like this definition. All right. So in printf function, the first argument is a format. Please pardon me for this term argument. I don't want to break down argument now because it is what we are going to. It's one of our function. Um, what we are going to be treating on function. Okay, we are going to be talking about argument and assignment, how they can be used, how they are related. Okay, so we are going to be talking about this during our function class. So please permit me. I'm not going to be saying this. Okay, I'm not going to be breaking this one down here. All right. Later in the future, we're going to do that. All right. So in printf function, the first argument is a format what now string, which is a string of characters that contain two type of content. Now, I repeat, in printf function, the first argument is a format string, which is a string of character, all right, that contains two types of content. Now, what are those two types of content? Number one, it contains plain text. Number two, it contains format specifier. Remember, I wanted to talk about format specifier, so I just have to, cut myself because I'm going to talk it. I'm going to say it rather later. Now, the two contents, okay, that is contained when writing a printf, okay, is number one, a plain text, and number two is what now? Format specifier. So what's the plain text? Let me write this. We are already out of time. Okay. So plain text. So this is just a regular text. Okay, that you want to display on the screen the way it is. Okay. So for example, if you want to print something like hello world, something like hello boss, something like hello there, okay, on the screen, all you need to do is to what now? Is to include the plain text hello world, hello boss, hello there, okay, in the format string. All right. So format string is what house those things you are doing. Okay. So that all you need to do just to put the plain text, hello world, hello there, hello boss, hello anything you want, okay, into the format string, and then you are going to get your result like that. Okay. Now another assignment. Let me give us another assignment. Okay. First of all, please make sure you note down this assignment. I'm going to be asking them, and if you don't answer them, it's going to be like a discourage to me. Okay, so just make sure you attempt them, even if you don't do much about them. Just attempt them. Okay, it's for our own good so that we'll know more about these things. All right. So another assignment: go and read up on what I called format string. All right. So format string. All right, and the string of characters. So please read up those two terms. Number one is format string, and number two is string of characters. Remember when we are trying to define the print, I mean, talking about the printf function, I said the first argument is a format string, which is a string of character that contains two type of content. So read up on the term format string and the string of what now? Of character. Okay, please just read them. Don't cram. Just make sure you understand the little you can. Okay, so when you come back, then we'll not talk about it. Then you now have better knowledge on them. Okay, so be expecting question from me. So make sure you read it well. Okay, read it well. So be expecting question from me. So those questions is what I will use to teach. Okay, so that's that. So we have two assignments with us now. Okay, so the first one is the mathematical calculation and all. Now the second one is the three. It's two. It's two. Is it three? Sorry, I forgot to know. I forgot. If it's three, fine. All right. But then, so the last one here is what now? Read up on format string and then write a little bit on format string and then what is it called? The string of characters. All right. So make sure you do all those things. All right. So like we were saying, so we are still on. We just finish up with what is it called? Yes, bring out your own unique stuff. I mean definition of standard library. Okay, yes. Okay, I said yes. That's true. Thank you, Miriam. So the first one is like you bring out your own unique definition of standard library. Like I said, you can always come to my DM. And then the second one is talking about the mathematical calculations. Okay, and then the memory management and then string manipulations. Okay, so when we are talking about the creating tools, okay, I said you should read up on um how you can use those things for mathematical calculations, for memory management, and the strict manipulations. And then I said you should give your own customized definition of what now? Of standard library. Now, the last one is that you should read up on the term what now? Format string and the string of character. So those are the three assignments. All right. And those assignments is going to last for before our next class. So our next class might be tomorrow evening. Okay, so you must because this particular stuff is going to last for 5 days, right? So let's just see how we can cover it for 3 days, and then the remaining 2 days we can use it to carry out our tasks. Okay, so we'll be having class tomorrow. So make sure you cover up all these things. So throughout tomorrow afternoon, you can start bringing your definitions, okay, for clarifications, so that we'll have our own customized definition. All right, you can start bringing your assignment for checking. All right, so before we start the meeting proper tomorrow, we're going to review all these assignments I gave to us that will now push forward. Okay, so that's how it's going to be. All right, so lastly, let's talk about the format specifier. Okay, so we talk about the plain text and we talk about the so now where we are on the format specifier. Okay, so these are special placeholder. Okay, we are much in minutes. All right, so talking about the format specifier, so these are special placeholders in the format string, okay, that tells the printf how it should display additional information. So if you ask me which one is better, is it plain text or using the format specifier? Now, talking about format specifier, if you go back, they gave us some materials, right? Now they gave us a list of format. Now, during our some of our classes, I talk about percent D, I talk about I think percent S. So they give us a list of these format specifiers. Okay, so percent D means what is it called? So it means like integers. Okay, so it's a sorry, what is it called? It's a format specifier for what is called an integer. Okay, So it's a format specifier for what is called what now? An integer. There are many, many of them. Many. They are much. They are much. I think they gave us on. If you go and check, what is it called? The material they gave. Okay, they gave us to read up on. They gave us many of these things. Bulky. Okay, so if you don't have actually have knowledge on them, you are going to you are just it's going to be looking like something very difficult. Meanwhile, it's not difficult. They are all format specifier, so no big deal. Okay, so you can just go there and then read up those things. Read up those things. Very very important. Okay, so very very important. Just digest them. Okay, like I said, we have the percentage D. So this one is used to print an integer. So I think I talk about the percentage C as well, which is used to print characters. Definition of another one. Oh, there's one for printing float point number. Okay, that one is percentage F. Okay, and there's a percentage S as well. Okay, that one is used for printing string of characters. So you see, these are the things you should include in. So you should go and find out or read up on string of characters and the string of format string. Okay, so these are the things I want to see. Right. So these are format specifier. You can go to the areas they gave to us. They are going to read off these things. They are there. There are many of them. So the reason is that they are special. Like I said, they are special placeholders. Okay, in the format string that tells the printf how it should display additional information. Okay, sometimes we use echo in some programming language. Okay, but in C we use what now printf to display. Okay, so now format specifier start with percentage symbol. So when you see percentage symbol, it means a format specifier. Okay. So after this percentage symbol, it's going to be you're going to I talk about character on previous class. So you can as well just watch those videos. They are very, 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 very they're very useful. Okay. I believe everybody people can see hear me, Abby. Please, if you can see hear me, just thumb up, thumb up. Okay, so I talk about those things, okay, on those videos. So format specifier, okay, starts with percentage symbol and then followed by character that represent the type of data you want to display and you want to like you want to display on the screen. All right. Now, basically that is all about the introductory aspect of printf. So let's give our printf a what now? A cool definition, our own customized definition. All right. So in C programming, printf now this is the initial definition. So in C programming, printf is a standard library function used to do what now? To display formatted output on the terminal. So basically, we talked about everything about this definition. Okay, so we've talked about everything about this definition. So the if okay, so talking about the C programming, we talked about this before, right? We talk about the C and then we talk about the programming. This night we talk about print F. So we said it's also called what now? Print formatted. Now we talked about standard library. Now we talked about print F as a function. Now we've talked about uh formatted output. Before now we talk about terminals. So basically, see, there is no force on earth should be able to hold you down not to understand this definition. Because almost all the word here is what we've explained. This is how you learn. Okay, so this is the best way you learn. Okay, so by breaking down all these things into pieces, there's no force on earth, okay, that will make you not to understand this. That's if you are truly following. Okay, because basically we just break down everything. All right. So now here we are going to be generating our own customized definition. This is not an assignment. This is what we are going to be doing here. Okay, so we are going to be generating. Don't run, no, nobody should run. So everybody will be here. Okay, so we are going to be generating our own customized definition of standard library of printf. Sorry. Okay, so someone has already left. Okay, so we are going to be generating our own definition of printf. Remember, this is an introductory class. Okay, so let's go. Let's go. So let's end this slide first so that we can have an interactive session. Okay, so please quickly give me a minute. Let me end the live. Okay, so quickly give me so that we can have an interactive session. Okay, let me quickly end the live.